Your mind is building a version of reality around you, not through magic, not through wishful thinking, but through attention, repetition, emotion, and perception. Most people never notice this happening. They believe reality is simply something that happens to them. But what if your experience of life is being shaped, moment by moment, by the patterns your mind continuously repeats? The human mind is constantly filtering reality. Right now, there are thousands of things happening around you. Sounds, movements, details, possibilities. But your brain chooses what to focus on. And over time, whatever you repeatedly focus on begins to feel like your reality. If your attention constantly moves towards stress, your mind starts identifying the world as stressful. If your attention repeatedly moves toward fear, your nervous system begins preparing for danger even when none exists. If your attention becomes consumed by negativity, eventually, negativity feels normal. Not because reality itself changed, but because your internal lens did. Most people spend years unknowingly reinforcing the same emotional patterns, the same thoughts, the same fears, the same assumptions. Repeated so often, they stop questioning them, and eventually, the mind begins treating those thoughts as truth. This is why two people can experience the exact same situation and walk away with completely different realities. One sees possibility, the other sees limitation. One sees growth, the other sees failure. The external event may be identical, but the internal interpretation changes everything. Your mind is not just observing reality, it is constantly influencing how reality feels to you. And that changes the direction of your life more than most people realize, because thoughts repeated long enough become emotional states, and emotional states repeated long enough become identities. This is why awareness matters so deeply. Most people are not consciously thinking. They are reacting, looping, repeating, running unconscious mental patterns created years ago. Patterns shaped by stress, childhood, social media, fear, comparison, environment, and constant stimulation. Modern life trains the mind to stay distracted, always consuming, always scrolling, always reacting. Very few people spend time observing their own thoughts, and because of that, they unknowingly allow their mind to shape a reality built from stress, fear, and noise. But the moment you become aware of your thoughts, something begins to change. You start realizing you are not every thought that enters your mind. You are the observer of those thoughts. And that separation changes everything. Because once you observe a pattern, you gain the ability to interrupt it. Most suffering is not created by a single moment. It's created by repeated mental reinforcement. A thought appears, then attention feeds it. Emotion strengthens it. Repetition normalizes it. And eventually, the mind builds an identity around it. This is why protecting your attention is one of the most important things you can do. Because attention is energy. Whatever consistently receives your attention begins influencing your internal state. Your environment matters. The media you consume matters. The conversations you surround yourself with matter. The emotional atmosphere you live in matters. Your mind absorbs more than you realize. And slowly, your inner world begins adapting to whatever it repeatedly experiences. Most people underestimate how deeply constant negativity affects the nervous system. The brain was never designed to process endless stimulation, endless outrage, endless comparison, endless noise. Over time, the mind becomes overwhelmed, and eventually, peace begins to feel unfamiliar. Some people become so conditioned to stress that calmness almost feels uncomfortable. silence feels strange, stillness feels unnatural, because the nervous system has adapted to chaos. But peace is not weakness. Stillness is not emptiness. And slowing down is not falling behind. In many ways, stillness is where clarity begins, because when external noise becomes quiet, you finally begin hearing your own mind clearly. You begin noticing the patterns, the fears, the emotional loops, the unconscious habits shaping your experience of life. And awareness creates choice. This is where transformation actually begins, not through pretending negative emotions do not exist, not through forcing fake positivity, and not through convincing yourself that life will magically change overnight. Real change begins when you start becoming conscious of what your mind repeatedly feeds itself, because your reality is shaped less by a single moment and more by what your mind consistently rehearses. The thoughts you repeat daily matter. The emotions you normalize matter. The things you focus on matter. And over time, small internal shifts begin changing the way life feels. You become calmer, more intentional, more aware, less reactive, more present. And slowly, your relationship with reality changes, not because the world suddenly became perfect, but because your mind stopped unconsciously creating suffering everywhere it looked. Most people search for peace externally, but peace often begins internally, through awareness, through observation, through intentional focus, through learning how to sit with your own mind instead of constantly escaping it. The truth is, your mind is always creating a version of reality. The question is whether that reality is being shaped consciously or unconsciously, because the quality of your attention eventually becomes the quality of your experience. And once you realize that, you begin understanding how powerful awareness truly is, not as fantasy, not as illusion, but as the quiet ability to change the way you experience life itself. And perhaps that is where real transformation begins.